Hello, my name is Mark, and I want to welcome you to this edition of the Fyrian website training. Today we're going to look at adding and editing to your existing navigation menus on your site. With your website, you received one or more pre-built navigation menus. And if you're adding a page to your site or need to tweak a page on your site, this is where you would do that and have it show up correctly in the navigation. Let's take a look at an example here. The Brain Injury Association of Michigan, you'll see their navigation menu is over here along the sidebar of the site. Okay. As I mouse over each of these items, they have options here to highlight, and then as I mouse over ones that have subpages, a little sub-menu pops out with more links. Okay. This is all handled through a dynamic menu. If I come into the admin portal of the site, you'll see here that we have something called sidebar navigation. Now your site may have just one navigation item, one menu, or it may have multiple menus depending on the Fyrian site that you purchased and what the design template specs were. So again, you may have one or you may have several. In this case we just have the one, so I'm going to click on sidebar navigation. And if you're adding a page to your site, this is where you come to add that page to the main site navigation if you choose to do so. Alright, the first screen that comes up when I click on that is just the name of the menu. We're going to go ahead and skip this just by clicking the next button. There's nothing that you need to do in this window, so just ignore this, press next. This is going to take us to the actual form where we can edit the menu and add new items. Okay, and as you can see here, we have a hierarchy showing us all the different items that are currently in the menu, which ones have subpages and so forth. Okay, the way that we add a menu item, for example, if we've added a new page to our site, and this is the example I'm going to use, is coming up here and completing this form. Item text and item title should be the same thing. So we're going to call this new page sample. I'm going to put that in both fields. Okay. Now you can ignore the use image button because this is a text-based menu. Item URL. This is the page address or URL that you want the visitor to go to when they click on this item in the menu. It always starts with a /. Okay. You can see here there's several ones that I've already entered on other websites, but in this case we're going to go in here and we're going to put new-page-sample.html just as an example. Whatever you put in here must exactly match the exact characters that you typed into the page URL field when you created the page. The only difference is that you're putting the / in the front. The rest of it should match that page URL field on the page that you created, otherwise it will not link correctly. Okay. Item width and item height controls the spacing around this particular item. Now I happen to know for this particular menu that we're 200 wide and 30 high. Okay, and what that does is that creates the width of the item, how wide it is, so that there's enough room for the text to show up in the string, and then also it creates the spacing or gaps in between each text item to make them uniform. So you can play around with that to your heart's content to figure out exactly how wide and how tall you want that to show up as. Target frame. This is important. Target frame tells the browser window when the visitor clicks on this link, where should this new page that they're navigating to open? Should it open in the top of the existing window, or should it open in a new window? If you want it to open in a new window, you would type in _blank. Just like that. That's the code, the HTML code that tells the browser to open it in a new window. However, for most of you, all you're going to want to do is put in here _top. Now what top does, this is actually very interesting. You may have noticed in some search engines like Yahoo, when you do, let's say, an image search and you find a particular image and click on it, it takes you to the page that image is on, but it keeps a little frame on top of the browser window from Yahoo. By putting in top, if somebody's navigated to your site through someone else's site and that other company has their frame on top of the window and they click one of these links, this little top item will actually defeat that frame and get rid of it so they can navigate your website by itself. So that's a little helpful thing. Again, you don't have to do it. It's a nice little thing to do if you know how or have the time. It's not a requirement, but I just wanted to show you where that is and what that is. Now, parent, this is very important. This determines which page is the parent page of the page that you're adding. Okay? In other words, should this page be a root level item? Okay, in other words, root level being, should it show up in the main navigation list here, as you can see on this site. All of these different items here are considered root items or top level categories. Or should it show up underneath as a subpage of one of these other existing pages? Okay, so if you want it to be in the top level menu, or in other words, as at the same navigation space or same navigation menu as what you see here, let's say we wanted it to show up in between one of these items here, we would just leave it as root on the form. However, if we wanted it to show up underneath a page as like a subpage of, let's say, advocacy, we would change this and select advocacy as the parent. Okay? So that's how you determine whether your menu item shows up as a top level menu item or as it shows up as a sub item underneath something else. Alright, for this example, I'm just going to leave this as root. Okay, you can ignore this checkbox. This is assigned CSS. There's no need to do that. And then come down here at the bottom and click on Save Item. This is going to think for a minute, and then once it's done, you'll see here we have New Page Sample. Now, the default is whenever you add an item, it always shows up at the bottom of the menu. If you'd like to move it up, all you have to do is right-click, and you get this little pop-up menu here, and you can come up here and say move up or move down to move it to exactly where you want it to be. Let's say I want this to be above the Contact Us page, so I'm going to click move up twice. And now you can see that it's sitting here nicely in the menu. And as I go back to the main website and refresh the page, you'll see here we have New Page Sample added to the menu. That's all that's involved in adding items to the main navigation of your website. Again, my name is Mark. Thanks again for joining me for this issue of the Fyrian website training. Be sure to check out the other videos on YouTube for tips and tricks on how to use the rest of your admin portal for your Fyrian website.